Hello, good people of YouTube land, and welcome to Spirit Shack TV, your rare and occasional glimpse into the workings of my mind and my spiritual thoughts. Apologies for not having been very active of late, but my health has been very much in a decline, and I'm only just now getting into a position where I feel well enough and strong enough to do a vlog for you today. Today has been a wonderful day, a day of pure blessings. We had a nice lazy lie-in this morning. It's Sunday, by the way. I had no church service duties to perform as the church is under construction at the moment, and we will be opening for those here in Bournemouth at the beginning of June. I say under construction. It's not strictly true. The building's already here. I'm sat in it at the moment, but we will be converting our lounge, or part of our lounge, into an oratory where we can hold occasional services, and getting back into the rigours and requirements of being a sacerdotal priest once more, which I'm very excited about. In the last few weeks, I'm also very proud to say that I was able to preside and officiate at the ordination of two new subdeacons into the community of St. John, our dear friend Martin, and most especially proud I am of the fact that the other subdeacon is my wonderful husband, Jonathan Harding-Rathbone, or as I should now say, the Reverend Jonathan Harding-Rathbone, and the Reverend Martin, of course. It's been a long time, and John has taken a personal journey that has brought him to the place where he was a few weekends ago when I conducted the service for him. And it has to be a personal journey, you know, my friends. Ministry is something that each and every one of us is called to do under the second great commandment of the Master Jesus. He talks about there being two new great commandments that override all the others that have been created from the institution of the Ten Commandments given to Moses by God on the Mount during the Israelites' traversing of the Middle East until they found their home. The laws that were brought in under Leviticus and Deuteronomy, the laws that were brought in by the kings and the judges, and all those that we read about in the Bible or in the Quran or in the Bhagavad Gita, in fact any of the great written works of our traditional religious bodies. But when the Master Jesus came, he said, I give you two new commandments, and these commandments override anything else that has ever been written or offered and come directly from the divine Creator. And that is one, that you respect, worship and acknowledge God in whatever name or state you personally regard God, be that the traditional image of a male figure with a flowing bushy beard sat on the clouds up in heaven, dispensing thunderbolts with one hand and grasping us with the caring and nurturing arms of a father in the other, or a mother, to a ball of energy, to an atomic structure. In Terry Pratchett's world, a giant tortoise, which we all live on the back of. That sort of comical image aside, each and every one of us has our own personal interpretation of what is the supreme power and authority in the world. For many people, it is not even a deity or a religious figure of any kind. It can be the attitude you have to life. It can be a political or social structure. And all of these have a bearing, and all of these have a value. The second commandment was to love one another as I have loved you, as in the form of Jesus. In other words, to accept that no man, no woman, no child is any less deserving of our love than anybody else. And that can be a very hard thing to do. And in the last week particularly, John and I have been severely tested in that unconditional and selfless act of love. And it's something that we have been tested for, as those who follow a spiritual path often are tested, to ensure that we remain true to our calling and are always ready to acknowledge, consider, and maybe tweak the way in which we react to various people, incidences or occurrences that go on from time to time in our lives. And then after that, remember this was the night before he was arrested and ultimately crucified. He said, I'm not going to be with you for much longer. And so I give you a commission, an order, a request. Now I've told you these two things. I want you to go out into the world and I want you to tell everybody about them. And again, this happens in various forms and by various teachers, prophets, leaders in all the great religions of the world. You know, I don't like the word religion. Religion is something that is man-made or human-made. It is something that has wholly humanistic quantification. It can and has indeed caused so much sadness, so much discourse, distress and dis-ease across the world for thousands upon thousands of years, be it Christians attacking Muslims, Muslims attacking Christians, Jews attacking anybody and being attacked by everybody, be it Hindus attacking Muslims, Muslims attacking Hindus in India and Pakistan back in the middle of the last century, Buddhists being attacked by atheistic forces determined to wipe the Dalai Lama and his peaceful and loving community of monks out of Tibet in a bid to land grab and take control of people. But wherever religion is used, it is always used by men and women as a weapon and a tool to either justify their actions or to control other people who may think differently. And that thinking differently is often a reason for their religious practices to be considered less worthy than the protagonists out to get them. And of course we see that most recently with so-called Islamic State and the horrific work they do, hiding behind what they say is true Islam. True Islam, my buttocks, my friends. It is no closer to Islam than a pig is related to a chicken. But to go out into the world and share that wonderful, wonderful, loving message of Jesus, that simple truth to love one another is more important than anything else other than recognizing that we are not the be-all and end-all, that there is something greater than us, is an act of faith. And that is where John and Martin and myself in my time and many, many other people of many different faiths have done and will continue to do so. It has to be a personal journey because faith is personal. Yes, there can be some community element to it. We gather together in churches and temples, in synagogues, in mosques, and we share our commonality in those occasions, following a quasi-religious way of conducting our faith in a communal setting. But each and every one of us has a personal, individual and unique to us faith, a relationship with our interpretation of the divine within us and without us, and in and out of every living thing on this planet. and indeed in the universe and any other universes that exist as well. And speaking for John, I know that John's journey has been very long and on many occasions very complex and testing. He was brought up in a loving family relationship where part of the family were heavily involved in the Church of England. There's nothing wrong with the Church of England at all, but John was effectively made to go to church every Sunday. He sang in the choir and he did all the things that the child of an adult attendant at that church or adherent to that church, member of the congregation, would be expected to do. As a result, he has a fantastic voice, but his faith, like so many of us, has not stayed in that one place. It has journeyed alongside him during his journey from childhood through adolescence and into adulthood, where he is today at the age of 30. And despite many requests from myself and other members of the community of St. John, he has been reluctant to follow the calling to ministry that was so clearly presented through many of us, not just from me, but from many other people who also felt the voice of spirit inside them saying, call him. And finally, over many months and years, late last month, he heard that voice. He heard that voice, that still small voice saying, come, walk with me, work for me, work with them, i.e. the community. And his response was, here I am. Take me, use me, and make me an instrument for your divine love in the world. And I haven't had a prouder moment in my life other than possibly witnessing the birth of my own children and my own ordination, to have been able to lay hands on him, breathe on him and say, receive the Holy Spirit, and welcome him in my hands and my arms as a fellow journeyman in faith, alongside my dear friend Martin as well, who's also felt a similar call and has gone through similar processes, but it's John that I'm concentrating on at the moment. And for him it has been a difficult journey. It's been one where he has been faced with many trials and tribulations, as those of us who are called often find ourselves prior to and often after our call to ministry. But you know, it's not just those of us who wear a dog collar or have the title Reverend or Imam or Rabbi or whatever the particular and appropriate word or title is, who have those feelings or have those testing moments. I think it's fair to say, as I look through my lens, as I'm speaking to you now, and imagining I'm looking at each and every one of you individually, and I guarantee that probably 80 to 90% of you have also had those trials and tribulations in your life. Have you ever wondered why sometimes, just when everything seems to be going right, your legs get taken out from under you, and where you've taken 3 steps forward, you find you take 4 steps back, and then you have to build up the strength to progress again. And your progression comes from learning from why you slip back. Not because you've done anything wrong, but because you had a lesson to learn. A lesson that made you a more fully rounded and mature person. You may never ever feel that you are called to wear a dog collar or the pantomime outfits. You may never feel that you are the one who should stand behind the altar and lead the congregation. You may find yourself called to a people-centred work. So many fantastic ministers and priests I know have never been to seminary. They don't know their Genesis from their Revelation. They've not learnt the secret that we say over the elements during communion or the Mass. Yet they feel called to work in a way that helps people, maybe as a nurse or as a carer, maybe as a police officer or a fireman or a nursery nurse or a teacher or a social worker. Any role that involves helping and encouraging other people to grow as individuals is just as important a ministry as the one I have with my dog collar and my pectoral cross. More so, in fact, because you don't realise often that you are ministering. But you, my friend, are a priest or a priestess or a minister. Because wherever you work or act in a way, it could be as simple as being a mum or a dad or a grandparent, but where you work in such a way that what you do helps, inspires and encourages another person, be it a child or an adult or a group of children or a group of adults, to be better than they were when you started, to be more rounded and more fully whole as human beings. There you can say you have heard that still small voice saying, "Come, walk with me, work for them." And you may say, "Here I am." Is it I? I know so many people who've worked all their lives in, say, nursing or medicine or the police or the armed forces or traffic warden, litter pickers, all sorts of people. And at their retirement, the age of 60 or 65, then they feel a call to ministry. I've been very privileged to journey with those people in their call to ministry, their training and their ordination. And so often I get asked, why is it only now that my working life is finished, that I'm being called to do this? I could have started out at 18 when I left school. I could have gone to university or seminary or theological college. I could have been a priest, a minister, a bishop, a rabbi, whatever. But instead, I wasted my life being a traffic warden. My answer to them always is, you've not wasted your life because you've been doing that job ever since you first drew breath. God knows who she wants to call. And there are many different ways to be called, and many ways in which you can serve that are different and unique. So, my friends, as John took his journey of over 16 years and has found at the age of 30, he now feels ready to accompany me when we've moved to Malta in helping building our community again over there, where we will minister in the traditional way, yes, but in a socially inclusive way that empowers everyone we meet to answer a call that befits their personal circumstances. I hope that you hear that still small voice. Don't suddenly quit your job and seek admission to theological college. Go with the flow. Walk the walk. Never be afraid to say, "Here I am, is it I you're calling?" And as God said to the young Samuel, "Yes, I'm calling you." And may your journey and your ministry as a social worker, as a nurse, as a police officer, as a litter picker, as a mother or a father, or whatever it is you are called to do, be as blessed as our ministries, whereby we get the titles and do that particular part of it. And know that your ministry through your job is just as, if not more, powerful and valuable to the people that you come into contact with on a daily basis. Remember the Great Commandments, follow the Great Commission, and may your version of God go with you always. If you've liked what you've heard, if you feel it talks to you in some way, please don't forget to hit the like button wherever it is down here somewhere. Share it with your friends. Please, my friends, do share it, because I want people to know that there are so many different ways in which we can serve, in which we can be useful to one another. And let's make this world a place full of love, a place of compassion, a planet of healing, because this planet and this people need healing at the moment more than ever before. If you really like it, it'd be wonderful if you hit subscribe so you can get every update as they come out and you can hear more. And do please leave a message or a comment. I love to hear them and read them, and I do answer each and every one. Maybe not immediately, because with my health sometimes I'm laid out and don't get to see them until a day or two after you've posted them, but I will always reply to them. And if they're negative, if you feel what I'm saying is wrong, or you have a contra opinion, don't be afraid to leave that either. All I would ask is please be as courteous as I would be to you. Remember that second commandment, love one another. There's no need for rudeness. But if we can have a debate, I'm more than happy to have a debate, because I know that I can learn something from you, probably way more than you can learn from me. So sending you love and light as always. Namaste. Until we meet again, this is Barry at Spirit Shack, wishing you a blessed, whole and content life. God bless.